The 17mm focal length, 35mm in full frame, is a benchmark focal length. Its 63-degree angle of view yields a pleasing perspective, close to the perceived perspective of the human eye, and makes a great choice for landscape, street and general purpose photography. Its cousin, the standard 25mm lens, 50mm full frame, performs a similar role but is less versatile in urban situations. What the 17 and 25 have in common is that their moderate angle of view means that they can be made in fast f2 or wider versions without the extremes of bulk or expense that such a construction would impose on wider angle, longer telephoto or zoom lenses. There is an affectionate spot in the heart of most photographers for a camera and 35mm lens slung over the shoulder. It seems somehow freewheeling, non-technical, a shooting for the hell of it kind of photography. For me, I've always had such a prime lens in my kit, going back to my Canon rangefinders in the 60s, and currently the Olympus 17mm f2.8, which is my favourite street and stroll lens. However, that Olympus 1.8 is around twice the price, bigger and much heavier than its f2.8 stablemate. Let's take a look. Price-wise, the 2.8 17mm sells for around £200, €235 or $280. It is a pancake design along the lines of the 20mm f1.7 Panasonic. It has a plain, a tough look, rather handsome to my eyes. The only feature on it is a nicely wide and easily grippable manual focusing ring, which turns with the pleasing smoothness of a lens twice its price. It doesn't have end stops, so will turn continuously. It is very easy and enjoyable to manually focus, snapping in and out of focus on the screen even without any focusing aid switched on. As it focuses, the front element moves a few millimeters in and out, but it doesn't turn. The mount is made of metal and the body of plastic, but it feels solid in the hand, more like an all-metal construction. It weighs in at 71 grams or 2.5 ounces, just under half the weight of its f1.8 stablemate. It takes a titchy 37mm filter, though I personally wouldn't fit one for technical reasons, namely that only wimps put filters on the street lenses. It'd be like fitting a GPS to a Harley. Like most pancake lenses, it comes without a hood, but cheap ones are available. Do you need a hood? Well, I'd advise one because apart from protecting the lens, extraneous light directly hitting it does tend to lower the contrast a bit. It also has a fair bit of purple fringing on things like tree branches at the edge of the frame, but nothing that can't be erased in post-processing. Distortion is nothing to worry about, but from technical tests I've read, it looks like this lens has quite a bit of it, and in the software correction applied before you see the image, edge definition suffers. Which brings me to sharpness. Wide open, this lens is good and sharp in the centre, but less so at the edges. You won't want to be shooting landscapes with it at f2.8, and if there's an even sky tone in your scape, you'll notice some vignetting. But for street stuff, with centre sharpness rules, who cares about edge sharpness? Stop the lens down to f4 or 5.6 and you have the sweet spots where even landscapes look good. I'd say that this lens at its best is similar in performance to its f1.8 stablemate at f2.8. The f1.8 goes on to better things, and at f4 and 5.6 is head and shoulders above this one, but at twice the price. Autofocusing speed seems to me to be on a par with the Panasonic 20mm. And focusing is noisy too, so for video, manual focus will be best. So where does that leave us? There is the cheaper, sharper, faster focusing, but less compact Sigma 19mm, and the compact, faster, better performing, slow focusing, but more expensive Panasonic 20mm to choose from. The problem is, these are not 17mm lenses, and for me, the 2 or 3 extra millimeters angle does matter. But if it is less of a factor for you, you should consider those lenses too. The landscapes I've done here are at f4 and 5.6. They're as sharp as anyone needs, but you do need to stop down to bring in the edges. On the other hand, most of us don't make landscapes at wide apertures anyway. For street work, I'm happy to work wide open with this lens, but I'd be inclined to manually focus because the autofocus isn't really up to grab shots. For general work, the autofocus is fine though. If it sounds like I'm damning with faint praise, that's not exactly what I intend. There's nothing really wrong with this lens, but it's nothing special either. Its selling points are its size and focal length. If an exact 17mm is not your priority, you have alternatives at 14 and 19mm, which are cheaper and optically better as well as faster focusing. The Panasonic 14mm is even smaller too. Or the 20mm Panasonic, which has a nice f1.7 aperture and is optically better but dearer. If you have to have a 17mm, and I do, ideally I'd wait until I could afford the 1.8, because I know I'd upgrade to that eventually and it would be cheaper in the long run. If it was 25% cheaper, I'd buy it anyway though. Nonetheless, if you really can't run to the 1.8 and really want a 17mm prime, this 2.8 will fill the bill. I'll put it this way. If 17mm lenses were TV detectives, the Olympus f1.8 would be Don Johnson. The Olympus 2.8 would be Columbo. They do the same job, but one of them is a bit rougher around the edges. Thanks to ePhotozine at ephotozine.com for the opportunity to try this lens, and thanks for watching.